That's it. MMA. BKB. Oh, MMA. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so I guess we're here to talk about MMA. I guess most of the viewers are tuning in right now to this UFC Vegas 32 Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw live preview show. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This is the you can see my face now. This is Alexander K. Lee. Normally we have Mike here on host duties, but he is on site in Tampa at BKFC 19. He's bringing you that white hot coverage all week. So you'll have to settle with me as your host. But luckily, I am joined by the expert of experts, the computer, José Youngs.
I'm a computer? Why?
Your memory is immaculate.
Oh. Okay, I'll take it.
Also, you are an emotionless husk, is also what I was getting at, but more so the memory thing.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good assessment.
And of course, producer extraordinaire, Casey Leydon.
I am a robot.
What a nice shirt.
I'm a professional. I dress up for preview shows.
Wow. Oh, I love the energy of this show already. Guys, we have
MMA. You know what it stands for? I don't know.
What does it stand for?
I'm asking. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I hear people say it a lot. I just
I hope people are tuning in because we're finally going to answer what MMA stands for after all these years. Maybe nothing. I think it's like KFC. You know, KFC obviously used to stand for Kentucky Fried Chicken, but legally KFC is just KFC now. Like the copyright is just KFC. Anyway, it's a whole branding thing, but obviously,
Yeah.
So MMA, we're here to talk about it. We have what I think is a good card. Most people in the media, we seem to be kind of excited about this card from what I'm seeing. So I don't know if we need to sell it to a broader audience, but
that is
the
not
main
our
event
job as journalists.
No,
we're not
of course
selling.
not. Of course
That is
not.
the UFC's
We're not PR.
job. Stop doing the UFC's job, AK.
We are not PR here to talk about UFC Vegas 32, which you can purchase on ESPN. If you're not an ESPN Plus subscriber, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Plus. You get all these cards.
How much is it per month?
I don't know in US dollars because it's like almost like 30. It's like $30 Canadian.
$30 a
What?
month? How much
Hold on,
you're paying $30 a month?
Casey, we got to work on our. Wait, hold on. We got to work on our script here. Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
What? How much is it?
Just one easy payment of $5 a month.
What? Are you kidding? $5 a month? I'll call right away. I don't know. No, we don't even have ESPN Plus in Canada. That's actually the joke. You
guys don't even know how to spell Sports Center.
All right, listen. I can't. That's true. It is confusing for people. Let's talk about the card, guys.
Okay.
One thing that doesn't need selling from the card is, of course, the main event: two-division bantamweight. Two-division. Oh man, I'm on fire today.
One.
Oh, two-time UFC bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw returns from a from a 2-year suspension for after testing positive for EPO. I'm sure if anyone doesn't know about it, UFC has done a fine documentary on Fight Pass documenting his struggle to come back from this 2-year suspension. But he fights Corey Sandhagen, number 3 in the MMA fighting global rankings, number 3 ranked bantamweight. So huge main event on Saturday. Great fight style-wise, a fight that Corey Sandhagen's wanted for a while. Jose, I'm just going to ask you, man, how excited are you for this particular matchup?
This is a 10 out of 10 main event. This is the every definition of a 10 out of 10 main event for a card on ESPN. I wish the only thing I would say is I wish maybe this was an ABC card because then it could hit a broader audience, but this is a 10 out of 10 main event. And if this was a Between the Links show or whatever, and we're going to what's the best fight of the week? And of course the answer would be Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. Would that be the answer that the judges and everyone would look for? Probably not, which means it is the best fight of this entire week. Bare knuckle, UFC, any other local fights in the area. This is a 10 out of 10 main event against arguably the 2 best bantamweights in the world. And we've been talking about bantamweights being the best division and the most stacked division for so long. And that's true. The champion right now, Aljamain Sterling, a lot of people think he's not the best bantamweight in the world. A lot of people don't think Petr Yan is the best bantamweight in the world. Who was the guy that quote unquote Aljamain beat? Yes, there was the DQ loss, but for all we know, Corey Sandhagen and TJ Dillashaw are the two best 135ers in the world. They just don't have belts. So this is an 11 out of 10 main event. I am so excited for this card. I wouldn't care if this was the only fight on the card. This fight is every definition of a high-level martial arts competition against two of the top 1%. Now, I say top 1%. I'm not talking about top 1% of bantamweights in the world. Top 1% of fighters in any weight class. TJ and Corey Sandhagen could very well be top 15 pound for pound. I'm very excited. 11 out of 10 in my mind.
It's funny. You bring up, of course, the UFC champion, Aljamain Sterling, and some people who think the would-be champion, Petr Yan, the former champion. TJ Dillashaw, when he was on the Food Truck Diaries earlier this week, or I should say maybe this past weekend, talking to Brendan Schaub, says something to the effect of, I feel like Corey and myself have a stronger claim to the bantamweight title than Aljamain or whoever wins on Saturday than Aljamain or Petr Yan. So guys, like I mentioned our global rankings. We have our own rankings now. Jose, let me go back to you quick in case I come to you. Jose, what do you think your rankings ballot will look like if Corey Sandhagen, let's say Corey Sandhagen smokes TJ Dillashaw, or the other way around? Does one of them jump ahead of either man in your personal rankings, either Petr Yan or Aljamain Sterling?
Corey Sandhagen won't, just because Aljamain Sterling submitted him in a minute. So I think that's the only knock against him. But that was so long ago, and he's been especially if he smokes TJ, that would be three. That would be Marlon, who many people consider to be still one of the best 135ers in the world. Frankie Edgar, future Hall of Famer, and one of, if not the knockouts of the entire year of 2021. Also less than a minute. The only thing he has against him is Aljamain Sterling just kind of tore through him. But if TJ goes out there and smokes Corey Sandhagen, maybe two, maybe second overall. I still kind of, in my mind, I still put whoever has the belt number one. I know the UFC puts the C next to them, but I know we don't do that. But in my mind, I still just default put them number one, and then TJ would be number two, and Petr Yan would be number three. But if we're just going talent wise, if TJ goes out there and smokes Corey Sandhagen, I still think he's the most talented 135er in the UFC.
And could Sandhagen jump Yan in your rankings as well, and vice versa? If Sandhagen wins, does he jump Yan?
That's tough too, because he was a round and a half away from beating Aljamain Sterling. He was
looked like it.
Kind of it appeared he was on his way to a victory before the DQ. So he looked really good against the guy that submitted Corey Sandhagen in a minute. So I think Corey would probably sit at number three if he wins, and I think TJ would probably be number two in my mind. But it depends on how he wins, first of all.
Bachelor number two, same question to you. What happens to your rankings if TJ or Sandhagen has a really emphatic victory on Saturday? Do they jump? I'm not sure what your Yan Sterling 1-2 looks like, but do they jump into that top two, either guy?
No. Jan's my personal ballot, Jan still says number one, no matter what. Aljamain will remain at number two because he does have the victory over Corey Sandhagen.
Yep.
If they actually rematch, a lot of ifs here. If Corey beats TJ, I do believe Corey is actually overall a better fighter than Aljamain Sterling. But Aljamain Sterling does have the win, and it's a semi-recent victory. But I think what the genius Ryan Hall said a couple weeks ago at his media scrum before his fight, the MMA is such a volatile game, and at the highest level, judging kind of one fight who's better is very tough in the sport. Like for example, the Phoenix Suns, they won the first two games and lost 4 straight. I see a lot of that with Corey Sandhagen and Aljamain Sterling. I think if they fought 7 times, I believe Corey will be the overall better fighter. But Aljamain won that fight, and that's all we have to go on. So I would still have Aljamain ranked at number 2. Now the big question to me is, where do we if TJ right now we have TJ unranked, and that's really based on just our criteria, because if you don't find 18 months, you're automatically unranked. If TJ loses, where do we rank him? Say he loses a close 5-round fight.
Yeah.
Where do you rank him? Because obviously you can't keep him unranked. But yeah, I don't know. Actually, we have to watch the fight, and I don't know. This rankings is all subjective, So it's just
of course.
The rankings are gonna be fun after this fight, basically.
As they always are, fun and contentious. But yeah, I mean, I think he has to be like if he loses a close competitive fight, I can't imagine him not making my top 10. Yeah, I have. I haven't really thought about it. In advance.
I would put him at 4.
Okay, even if he loses, loses a good fight.
Yeah, highly competitive fight.
I would argue that
4.
too. I mean,
like just one above Rob Font. Like Rob Font is incredible, but like again, we just like he just said it. Like if Corey Sandhagen could be the best bantamweight in the world, he just had an off night that night. So he's losing to number 1 at like best, and at worst he's losing to 3. So he's losing to someone in the top 3. So I just stick him at 4, especially if it's a highly competitive fight.
Yeah, I mean, just for the sake of context, I'll tell people what our you can find our rankings, of course, on MMAfighting.com. There's a nice little tab at the top which links to all our rankings articles. Right now, what it looks like is we have tied at number 1 Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan. 4 first place votes for Aljamain, 4 first place votes for Petr Yan, and then Corey Sandhagen at 3, Rob Font at 4, and then Jose Aldo, Pedro Munoz, Marlon Moraes. So as you said, Jose, I think we would all comfortably rank Dillashaw ahead of Aldo, Munoz, Moraes. And then Rob Font might be the one people disagree on. So yeah, he probably comes in top 5 easily, regardless, unless he looks for some reason absolutely atrocious on Saturday. But his body of work is so strong.
And what if Corey smokes TJ Dillashaw? Where do we put him then? I mean, Corey
5.
smoked Frank Yeager, but we still have Frank Yeager top 10. Yeah, so it's gonna be a lot of debate.
To me, it's
in a good way. It's a great division. Yeah. It's a great division.
If TJ loses the lowest in my, because I don't vote on our rankings, I'd stick him at 5 rather than 3. Like he'd be below Font or above Font. That's pretty much what he's fighting for in my book. I still think he's a top 5 bantamweight.
Jose, you mentioned just how amazing this fight is. It's again probably one of the best fights this year. Certainly one of the best on a free card. Reputations is such a big part of it. We already just talked about the sort of the ranking reputations, and of course, there's this whole storyline with TJ Dillashaw coming back, and the UFC kind of wanting to, seemingly wanting to help out with this this reputation rehabilitation that he's currently going under. He's made the rounds. He's done a lot of interviews. His whole theme is kind of like, I wanted to get ahead of everything. That's been his idea since the drug test was announced 2 Aprils ago. So do you think that he's done enough to move on? And definitely, do you think a win for the most part, other than people who are always going to bring it up, do you think the broader, MMA scene is kind of like, okay, whatever, he won. Clearly he can fight without whatever he was on before. And it becomes a backstory.
Maybe that's subjective too. In my mind, I think he's handled it well, as best as you can. Like, as you said, he's gone in front of it. He's been incredibly transparent. Like, he wanted an advantage. He admitted it. He's not pretending that he didn't take a banned substance to take an advantage. The only comparison I can think of is, do you remember Jason Giambi? I think he was the 2002 AL MVP for the Oakland A's. He tested positive for banned substances, and he came out and was like, yeah, I took it because I wanted to be better at baseball. Andy Pettitte did the same thing, I think, with HGH when he was on the Yankees or the Astros. I can't remember which team he was on, testing positive. And the MLB commissioner at the time, Bud Selig, actually was commendable with them and gave them like lesser sentences and everything because of the way they handled it. And then you see guys like Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds and everyone who are so adamant and like they push back so much and they argue even though all the evidence is there, and they're still kind of on the outskirts of baseball, while Jason Giambi and Andy Pettitte had continued to play even after. And it wasn't nearly brought up as much. Like, yes, it's still there. Yes, there's still questions, but the fact that they were so transparent with what they were doing, I think helped at least in the minds of some fans. But again, it's all subjective. I'm not going to try to argue with fight fans because that's silly. But in my mind, I think he's handling it as best he can. And being as transparent as possible, especially and who's been the most like outspoken critic in terms of like fighters has been Michael Bisping. Remember, he has nothing positive to say about anyone who has tested positive for anything, even if it's like a tainted supplement like Yoel Romero. He still brings it up to Yoel Romero. Michael Bisping on his own podcast had nothing but positive things to say about TJ Dillashaw because of how he's handling. So if you can sway Michael Bisping and saying something positive after testing positive, you're clearly doing something right in how you're handling it.
Yeah, you mentioned baseball. I think Alex Rodriguez was another good case. I think he fought it at first, or I don't remember. But then
I wasn't trying to bring him up, but
I remember ESPN later they wrote this kind of gushing piece about how he was like putting his and I thought about it immediately when I saw the UFC Fight Pass like documentary. I was like, this reminds me so much of like ESPN, like how they kind of again were like, oh, Alex Rodriguez is trying to turn his life
I
around.
think they just wanted.
I've opened the door.
I think they wanted Alex Rodriguez to be part of the broadcast team.
Well, and he was later, right?
I think he did Baseball Tonight. He was very good, but I think they really wanted him, so they were trying to like clean his image up a bit. But that's
so real quick.
Go ahead, Casey. Yeah,
review
please.
on the TJ Dillashaw history. Now we said TJ openly admitted he took EPO for the flyweight fight, correct, against Cejudo.
Yes.
And
correct.
He says he took that because he wasn't going to make weight. Correct? Was it, or is it strictly like I'm just gonna punch harder, or was it very focused on I wasn't gonna make the weight, that's why I had to take it?
I don't think it was the weight. I think it was that he couldn't train. Like he was so drained. Like I think making weight was fine.
It kind of goes hand in hand because he's so drained
like
from
either he was gonna make weight and he wasn't gonna be able to train, or he was gonna train and not make weight. So I think he was trying to do both at optimal. He was trying to optimize his weight cut while not slowing down the training.
I like TJ Dillashaw so much as a fighter, just purely just fighting. But man, I mean, I'm just kind of going back in time, and when that whole I'm gonna go to 25, and I remember I was going, no, you've never even competed at 25, even when you were like younger. And I just thought it was the stupidest thing for the UFC to do, and clearly it was, and it cost them millions of dollars and in his legacy a lot. But did they? I think I saw a lot of tweets about this. I wasn't really sure because I wasn't at the media day. Did they test TJ's old samples for EPO?
Yes.
And
so
negative,
that's what he
right?
says. Yeah.
Yes, that's
what
we're taking that off of TJ's word.
It's only coming from TJ.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He said they tested as far back as the Sun Sao rematch. His second fight was a Sun Sao. That's according to him. I sent a message. I did try to contact send a message to USADA. They have mentioned in the past they do not publicly comment on how far back. Like if they say they do it. They certainly do test old samples, but they won't usually respond to media inquiries about exactly how far back. So we're going on that. We are taking Dillashaw's word.
So we're taking the word from a cheater.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of the way to look at it. And
I'm being negative about that.
No.
I thought I was, but it's not coming from USADA. It is coming from TJ.
Sure.
I just want to lay that out. Okay.
Yes. Look, the most cynical way to look at it is you get suspended. You have to take years off.
I think Jeff Nowitzki also commented on it too, and
yes.
they said I don't know. I don't think he was as exact, but he said they went back and tested it.
They go back. Too. Yeah. They said they can do it. They can. They have the capacity to do it, and they will do it. So it's certainly a believable thing for TJ to say, but. He's off for 2 years, steps right back into a high-profile main event, possibly a number one contenders bout. So, look, we're not here to tell you guys what to think, but I mean, there's, like I said, the dynamics around his comeback are certainly more than just, as I'm sure they'll say on the. I just can't wait to see how they dance around it on the broadcast. It's kind of like, yes, the returning champion, returning to the division,
Looking at the USADA site, I just punched it in. TJ's been tested 11 times.
Okay.
After his suspension.
In just 2021, like this year, like the last 7 months.
Okay, so he didn't get popped while he was under suspension, basically.
Correct.
Okay, so good, cool.
Guys, let's get to the pick. This is as Jose said. There's so much to talk about this fight, and I think it'll just be so fascinating to watch. But let's break it down. Who is going to win the dang fight? Pardon my language. Casey, who's going to win? How do they do it?
Corey Sandhagen, younger, better, fresher. He's been in the ring more, and been in the cage more, and TJ Dillashaw is 35. He kind of looks like an age 35. He's not a young 35. He doesn't, from just looking at some of his photos. But I think Sandhagen is the second best bantamweight in the world behind Peter Yan, and it's going to show this Saturday night. And I think it's going to be a dominant decision victory.
Jose, go ahead. What do you think?
I'm gonna pick Sandhagen too. Don't know how it's gonna happen, but I base a lot of my picks off of strength of schedule, and I think TJ's 2 wins over Cody Garbrandt have not aged as well. And they both have the wins over Lineker and Assunção, if I remember correctly. The win over Lineker for TJ, to me, is still one of the absolute. Like, we talk about perfect games, that was a perfect game all around. I just think beating Frankie Marlin are a little more impressive, especially in the last 12 months. Because when did he fight Aljamain? Last June, July? So at least 13, 12 months ago, he fought Aljamain Sterling. Like Casey said, activity, younger, faster, taller. I just think I'm picking Corey, but it's like 51-49 Corey Sandhagen for me.
I'm always the last to get off of a train or a bandwagon, whatever you want to call it, in MMA. So I'm sticking with Dillashaw. I just think, I'm not saying he has the best resume at 135 pounds, but in my eyes, he's still the best. I think he's the best 135er I've ever seen. So I'm going in that direction. 2 years is a very long time in MMA. You're 2 years away from the game. Again, with the new names that have come up, like I could be totally just crazy here, and Sandhagen is light years ahead of him. In the 2 years that he's been gone. But I think I have to see it. I think I have to see it before I'm willing to go. To just say like Sandhagen's definitely the best guy alongside Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going Dillashaw, and I'll say Dillashaw by decision. What did you guys think for Sandhagen? You think he's going to finish?
I don't know.
I think it'll be a 49 4 round. What is it? 49, 46.
49, 40.
Yeah. Okay. I think it'll be relatively dominant, but competitive victory for Sandhagen.
TJ historically does very well in later rounds. So if it's a dominant decision, it will be very interesting to see. I think he's the only fighter in UFC history to have 2 fifth round stoppage wins. I'm not quite sure. I don't know, but he has to be way up there.
I'll believe that. Yeah, so, I'll believe that.
He had, and then even Barao, he finished in the 4th round too. So I think he finished Barao in the 5th round, the 4th round, and then I think he finished Joe Soto in the 5th round. So like 3 straight fights that ended in the quote unquote championship rounds. Yeah. And Sandhagen's never fought in the championship round. So if it is a dominant 5-round decision, we've not had that opportunity to see Corey do that. So it'll be interesting.
And those victories for TJ, those late round finishes, he was dominant in those whole fights. It wasn't like he lost the first 2 rounds, and so.
Joe Soto fight was also on like 24 hours notice.
But this fight rules. This fight rules. It is a fantastic fight night main event. That's
I don't want to hear. I don't want to see any fans arguing that there's a better fight this week. There's not.
Blueface and
I knew you were gonna. I knew one of you. I knew one of you two were going to bring up bad bare knuckle fist fighting, but it's just not. It's just nothing on bare knuckle. Nothing like I'm fine. Like the bare knuckle boxing is great. I think it's awesome. It's fun to watch. But if you're looking at the main card of the UFC, every single fight on the main card is better than every single fight in the bare knuckle 19 card.
Well, listen, like I said,
in terms of high level martial arts,
hold on. Tell him, Casey. Listen. Like I said earlier, guys. We're not here to do PR for anyone. BKFC 19 tonight, 8:00. You can order go to any article on our website. You can order through that link. We're not here to do PR for anyone. Let's talk about, like you said,
one last thing on this.
Go ahead.
Depending on how this fight plays out, it will be interesting. Because someone asked me this yesterday if this was better than next week's main event, the Bellator main event, and it is. I don't know. It's great. Both of them are 10 out of 10. Both of them are 11 out of 10. I think the only thing Bellator has over this is as for a title, and it's the end of a tournament.
Yeah, and it's going to be in front of a crowd. And I think it really sucks that this fight isn't in front of a crowd. But safety first. But
sure.
Oh yeah, true. Yes. All right, guys. Let's talk about some other fights in this card. Normally we would immediately jump to the co-main event here, but we kind of just got a co-main event by default. A very good fight. The originally scheduled bantamweight co-main event between Aspen Ladd and Macy Chiasson was unfortunately canceled due to, as the UFC reported vaguely, an injury. We had sources that could confirm, that it was Chiasson that withdrew. So we don't know the nature of the withdrawal exactly, but an injury, Chiasson withdrew. So you guys can. I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the future. But either way, that fight is not happening. We don't know if it'll be rebooked. bumped up into the co-headlining position is another bantamweight fight between Kyler Phillips and Raulian Paiva. So I think a very good fight, but again, it's always kind of a weird situation when I don't even know if you would actually call it a co-main event. It's kind of just now the penultimate fight of the night.
You don't have to change the channel between the prelims and the main card, so everything's just on ESPN. It's just one long card.
Pretty much, yeah, with only one. So I'll ask you first off. I mean, if you have any thoughts on the Phillips Paiva main event? Otherwise, what other fight on the main card? Casey, I'll go to you first. What other fight on the main card are you most interested in, and do you feel like could have been the co-main?
My personal people's main event is Barber versus Maverick. I think I love that. I mean, first off, I'm super bummed. Lad and how do you say her last name? Chazon, yeah. I'm bummed that didn't happen. Lad is coming from that big her ACL surgery, so I was really excited for her to come back. And then now I'm seeing all this little drama online. Apparently, Aspen Lad's family are kind of accusing Macy of faking an injury. That's whatever. That's trash. So that's kind of a bummer. But I hope that's I got a little cut. We can fight in a couple weeks. I hope that's the story, because I really want to see Aspen Ladd fight. I think she is truly a top contender at bantamweight, who's only getting better, and who knows how good Macy is too. But for me, Macy. I'm sorry, is there two Macy's on this card?
There are two. This is a double Macy card.
Yeah, okay. I was like, I thought I made that up. She is on. Yeah, I was like,
it was to be. I'm sorry. It was. I should say. I'm sorry. It's too soon. Sorry, guys. It was to be a double Macy card. I apologize.
Yeah, but the Barber Maverick fight is a fight I'm really looking forward to, because we'll see where Barber is. The UFC really pushed her. She pushed herself. She went out there and said all the things that the most confident fighter would say, almost ridiculous things, saying, I'm next John Jones. I'm going to beat John Jones's youngest fighter to win a UFC title. Didn't happen. She's on a 2-fight losing streak. And now she's arguably facing a better fighter than her last two opponents that beat her already, with Miranda Maverick, who's only getting better. And they're about the same age. They have the same experience levels. And this fight rules.
And Maverick is one of those people, not just an amazing prospect at 125, but like her story, it just gets more interesting every time you read about her. She's like one of those world's most interesting woman type woman. Mm-hmm. She's also getting I think she's still pursuing her PhD as she is serving as a fighter, which is just amazing. And she's only 24 years old.
She's just a few months older than Barber, actually.
Yeah, this is insane. This is the rare card where she's not the youngest.
And the only difference really between Barber and Maverick is that they both have 2 losses, but Maverick was fortunate enough to have her losses outside of the UFC, so it wasn't like there wasn't like a lot of eyes on her, so she could lose it and kind of go, okay, just brush yourself off and get better. But Barber, when she lost those fights, it came with a lot of ridicule afterward and stuff, and it was unfair, but she did talk a big game, and if you talk a big game, you gotta have to eat crow sometimes.
Sure. And I think she's done a decent job of that. Again, she's young. She's definitely had some missteps, some public missteps, as far as promotional wise. Yeah, promoting herself. And that's fine. Again, she came in at 21, 22 years old. So who among us, Casey? Who among us? I would love to see some old footage of a 21, 22-year-old young Casey Leydon full of piss and vinegar. Getting it done. Jose, so what is the other fight on the main card that you are looking forward to the most?
The co-main event with the Kyler Phillips-Pavea fight, I think that's going to be a showcase fight for Kyler Phillips. From everything I've heard, because he's an Arizona resident, he trains here. From everything I've heard, him and Casey Kenny and Sean O'Malley and like that group of bantamweights coming up, they all kind of came up together. I had always heard a lot about Casey Kenny. I didn't hear a lot about Kyler Phillips on the like. I always saw him fight, but he was never one that was at like the tip of everyone's tongue. And then Sugar Sean O'Malley, I then just kind of burst onto the scene with that Dana White Contender Series performance. But from everything I've heard from people that have rolled with all these guys, is that Kyler is probably the best grappler on the ground. Like Casey Kenny is the strongest. Sean O'Malley is the longest and lankiest. But if this was a straight jiu-jitsu tournament, I think a lot of people would pick Kyler Phillips to win. So also, and I've never heard this from him or anyone else in the camp. It's always just been people that have watched that Kyler Phillips can pretty much do whatever he wants against Sean O'Malley. I'm not saying he can do that now in 2020, but this is just what I've heard from this scene. So I think that'll be a showcase fight. And then there are two really good middleweight fights on the prelims. Like Puna Soriano is an undefeated prospect.
Yeah.
Back-to-back knockouts in his first 2 wins. Brendan Allen is an incredibly high-level grappler at 185. I know Sean Strickland jokes that he took the coward's way out, won by ankle lock at UFC 261, but that's absurd. And before his loss to Sean Strickland, what was he, like 4-5 wins in a row, and like they were a bunch of them were stoppage wins in the UFC. He is a future. I don't want to say he's a future champion, but he is very clearly both of these individuals. I think future top 15, top 10 middleweights in the world, and I very much want to see Brendan Allen rematch Sean Strickland at some point in the future because they just keep talking all that greasiness. And then Ian Heinisch, whose last loss was to Kelvin Gastelum. And before that, they were to Amari Akhmadov and Derek Brunson, who were both top 10 middleweights at some point, if not still in the I know Amari Akhmadov just got cut, but when they fought, they were clearly top 15, top 10 middleweights in the world. So two exceptional middleweight fights to end the quote-unquote prelim cards, as I like to call it, just the halfway mark, because you don't have to change the channel. The only difference is Bruce Buffer makes an introduction for the quote unquote main card. So two incredibly high level middleweight fights, and then I'm sure you guys are going to want to talk about the Randy Costa Adrian Yanez fight, so I didn't want to take that, but there's a ton of good. This fight card is a quote unquote diehard MMA fan's dream. Awesome card.
This card is everything next week's Fight Night card is not.
Oh goodness! I hope I'm glad Michael will be back. I think to host a preview show for that one, because that's going to be a bit of a grind to get through. With respect, of course, to all the fighters competing on next Saturday's card.
There's another card that night too, so we're good.
Yeah. So Brendan Allen, Jose, I just wanted to add, technically is at actually still 4 straight wins in middleweight. His fight with Sean Strickland was a scheduled, right? And a scheduled one, not one where a guy missed weight, right? It was a scheduled catch weight bout. So if people want to say, so he is tied with Derek Brunson and I think Uriah Hall for the second longest streak, middleweight streak behind Adesanya at 10. So hat tip, by the way, of course, to Michael Carroll for the great statistician. I saw him write that up somewhere.
One last thing. On this card too, which I think has a lot of significance, mostly for her. But Sijara Eubanks is fighting. She is currently 6-6. If she loses the fight to a UFC debutante, she will be under 500. And this is for a woman that was scheduled to be in the main event in a flyweight fight in Madison Square Garden at one point. And now she could go under 500. She'll be on a 3-fight losing streak. No, she's 36 years old. If she loses this fight, depending how the UFC sees her, it could be her last fight in the UFC. So it's a lot of, and she had a lot of potential. I mean, like, even her her losses, like she doesn't get blown out, but she just kind of loses, and she can't make. And she seems like to be a flyweight, but can't make that weight. So she's a small bantamweight. And here we are.
She's at that point where she's only lost to like the top 7 at bantamweight or flyweight. So it's like, it's hard. I don't want to say it's hard to justify it, but like if you're under 500 and you can't crack that top 5, like it might be rough. Also, wasn't there like a lot of drama on her social media a couple months ago? I don't know what happened with that. I don't know. I just remember
inconclusive.
Her partner. It got ugly. There were a lot of, I think, maybe some custody type stuff.
Yes.
Going on for their child. So
claims of domestic violence. No charges were filed, but yes, claims of domestic violence. So that should be noted. Absolutely. So the thing about Sarge, though, just to get back to her fight on Saturday, is I didn't know. I totally forgot she's dropping back down to 125. Which had been a big problem for her in the past, but she hit 125 on the dot. She proudly just tweeted championship weight. So, well done there. She's number 12. Going into this, she was number 12 in our rankings at 135. And now she's returning to flyweight, where she almost fought for the inaugural UFC flyweight title, except she unfortunately missed weight for that opportunity. And that is how we ended up with Nico Montano going on to win the...
I don't think she missed weight. Didn't she she pulled out, right? She pulled out. She didn't even take the scale.
It was weight. Yeah, it was weight related.
One of those things.
Pretty clearly. Yeah, she wasn't going to make it. She had problems making weight in the show. I mean, there was a whole episode of the show dedicated to her really, really struggling to make weight. So, So yeah, that was an issue. But now she made 125, as you said. She's a bit up there in age, but yeah, has always been a tough out. Was top 15 ranked at 135 for us. Does hold a win over
Lauren Murphy.
Lauren Murphy, number one. This is a
Roxanne,
long time ago.
She has 2 wins over. Like she has a win over Lauren Murphy and Roxanne Modafferi and Julia Avila.
Julia Avila, who we're always hyping up, and we're always hyping up Julia Avila, and she lost to Sijara Eubanks. So yeah, big make or break fight. A lot of hype around Elise Reed, but she is a straw weight. She's stepping in on less than a month's notice. She's fought as low as atom weight as well. So there will be a big size disadvantage going to this one. She certainly has a chance, but it does, the odds are, you would think that this would be Sijara Eubanks' fight to lose. But a lot of hype around Elise Reed, just maybe when she drops back down to 115. So yeah, that's definitely one to watch. Damn, guys, I think we've kind of gone up and down the card. So we can probably take some questions. Casey, I had to read one comment from before. It's coming from one of the funniest names I've seen. Well, the comment is all caps. Don't hate on Kyler Phillips. It's a co-main now. Too bad, suckers. I think the suckers is us. Kyler Phillips is sharp, 5 P's, sharp, on the feet. Watch him piece up everyone. And this comment came from someone named, in case you're going to love this, Mixed Partial Farts. Mixed partial farts.
You, sir,
good fighter.
You, sir, Mr.
I hope you're still watching. Let's go to the questions, please. Let's get to make 3 questions.
This is in reference we were talking about earlier about people basically owning up to PEDs.
Yes, I saw this from Takero Man 91 earlier. Ortega is not really ever praised for admitting being on steroids after he got caught. I'll start this off by saying he might not be praised for it. It also never gets brought up. So that is the kind of reward for however. I actually don't remember how he handled it exactly.
It's because it was his first ever UFC fight, and it was so that was 7-8 years ago, and he won the fight. Yeah, by in like a minute or 90 seconds over. I can't even remember. Like Mike Dillashaw maybe.
Yeah,
But it was like that long ago.
Computer. Look at this guy.
I've had this conversation with people before, like, oh, how come no one talks about it? I'm like, well, he admitted it, and it was so long ago, and he's almost had 10 years of negative tests. Yeah, and it looks better than ever.
That's it. Yeah, that's what it takes sometimes.
And unfortunately, when TJ got popped, he didn't get popped in his fighting, whoever on some prelim. Right. He got popped in a championship fight for a main event. So
I'm looking it up.
It's going to stick out a lot more.
A main event fight that he lost in like 30 seconds. So like it was the perfect storm of people wanting to just pile on him. And again, I'm not saying it's not warranted, by the way. I'm not judging people who still want to criticize TJ Dillashaw. I absolutely understand. Again, that's part of the intrigue, as you mentioned, way at the top of the show. Heading into this, there's just so many ways to look at it.
I saw a tweet from a colleague of ours, RJ Clifford, and he kind of compared the punishments you get in different leagues versus what TJ got in MMA, and basically saying, it was just. I mean, he understands this is a fight sport, so it's different. But at what point are we just kicking a man while he's down? You know what I mean? Like, at what point is it, okay, you did your time. If you pass your next drug test, like all 11 drug tests throughout 2021 and your drug test for this fight coming Saturday, is it old news at that point? Is it? I mean, I know fighters are going to be kind of jerks and fans are going to be jerks, but from the media standpoint, is that just old news now?
Well, for me, if you cheat, for me, you are essentially a cheater for life. I mean, there are
circumstances. Degrees of cheating, like there
are degrees, absolutely.
Like jaywalking is breaking the law, and murder is breaking the law.
And there are cases, and I absolutely believe some cases, tainted supplement cases. I know it's kind of a lot of fans are skeptical. Everyone, I'm saying don't believe every case, but if you know what goes on in the supplement business, there are definitely supplements that have stuff in them that the fighters don't know about. For some of the fighters to work around, whatever. But I don't have like a super hard fast rule, but generally in this situation, especially when if someone comes forward and says, yes, I cheated, I'm always going to view their career through that lens. It happens with Anderson Silva too, and I understand him. I mean, I think he had a broken leg. I think he wanted to recover as quickly as possible. He took banned substances that he wasn't allowed to take, and that's it. He broke the rules. You can say it's justified or not. You can say whether he's a cheater throughout his career or not. But these things just become part of someone's history. So that and again, that's just me. I'm not saying objectively that's how everyone should live their life. But for in this case, where someone admits they did it and they admit it, I'm always just kind of look at everything they do with a little, I don't know, a little bit of wondering if they're still trying to beat the system.
I just looked up Brian Ortega's statement, and it's like anyone that tests positive for it and gets don't take them, but if you get caught, it's like he just lays it. He goes, "Yeah, my coaches didn't know it. I apologize, and I'd rather lose a fair fight to an opponent than take banned substances moving forward." No,
there you go.
Good on you.
And yeah, again, and like I said, it happened very, very low profile. First UFC fight, no one even knew who Brian Ortega was. There you go. That's so he got away.
The profile, the picture of the article is literally him with shaved, like the last time he had shaved head. Like from that point on, he just grew it out.
There you go. It's a totally different man. It's in the past now. But yeah, never gets brought up. Could this happen for TJ someday? Again, doubtful. It happened while he was champion. He had to relinquish a title. He was coming off of a flyweight title fight. But based on some of the sentiment I'm seeing, you kind of mentioned RJ Clifford's suggestion. Casey is like, is there a point where where we forgive and move on? I don't know. Yeah. That's for every individual person to say. What do we got, Casey?
Okay.
Look, I do think this needs to be answered. Connor Thompson wants to know, Jose. This man has thousands of anime behind him. Do we really trust his opinion? Jose, the floor is yours.
I don't have any anime behind me.
Boom. Take that.
Oh, none. Tell him the difference. Tell him the difference, Jose. This man doesn't know.
Anime is an animated show or movie.
Yes.
If you
Come
want.
on, Connor. Come on.
I don't have any anime behind me.
Yeah.
I have a handful of. I have a bunch of manga to the right of me, but behind me there's no Japanese anything. It's all over here to the right, but not behind me.
You suck, Connor. You suck.
Yeah, dude. We live in facts, my guy.
Connor Thompson. I am sorry.
Usagi Ojumbo is based in Japan, but is like written for the English speakers.
What a schooling. Oof. Media on fan violence. Yes, our old friend Scott McCrate. So great that Cruz is calling this fight. Cruz gets the loser of this fight. Yeah, especially if it's Dillashaw, that's a rematch I've wanted to see forever. Guys, what do you think?
Yeah.
If TJ loses, that's definitely a possibility. If Sandhagen loses, not much.
Do you remember, like, Casey, for like 2 years you've been calling for TJ Uriah Faber? Is that still your fight?
Oh, I wanted this fight to be TJ versus Uriah, but
sure. So if he loses, why not make it?
Well, if TJ's in that position. If he loses, there's still so many options for him because he's such a name and a kind of a villain in the sport. So it's an easy sell. People want to see him lose now or see him win or whatever. So if TJ looks horrible, then every single bantamweight will be coming out of retirement to try to fight TJ. So if TJ loses and looks bad too, not just. There's good losses and bad losses, so we'll see. Uriah's still in the gym. Uriah's still in the gym, so I would still like to see that fight. Wait, that never happened, yeah.
Is Cruz, I see a commenter, MMA Dog. I see MMA Dog in the comments saying, he says DC and Felder are calling the fight. Is Cruz just on the desk? Is he doing the desk, or is he going to call
I think he's calling from what I've read. I remember reading it like Dominic Cruz to call TJ's return or something like that.
I like that. I mean, I hope it's Dom.
I hope it's Dom in general.
Yeah.
I don't always love. I believe he is supposed to be calling the fight. I don't always love how biased Dominic Cruz can be, but this is one situation where I want him to be as biased as possible. I want to know everything that he's thinking while he's watching this fight. Give me that MMA Doctor. Sorry, Cruz.
Uriah Faber has been tested 3 times in USADA. In 2021, so he's still in the USADA pool too.
Yeah, he said he's just waiting for the right fight. Joseph, another old friend of ours, Joseph Boza. Did this card suffer from a lack of big names outside of TJ's return
No.
after 30 months? No, exactly. This card suffers from nothing. No, this card suffers.
No.
What is no?
This is a fight night card. This card is for outside the main event, maybe co-main. Don't expect big names on these cards, but expect good fighters who are on their way to becoming big names, and that's what fight night cards are. So
in 2008 and 19, if I told you that Corey Sandhagen and TJ Dillashaw are fighting in the main event, you would probably assume that there's a high chance that it's a pay-per-view for a title. Yeah. This fight card, this main event is incredible, and the rest of the card is exactly what it should be.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You're going to tune in for the main event, and you're going to catch a lot of up-and-coming people that you should remember.
Which is how fight night should be laid out. Yeah.
I like that. Like Casey said, these could be future big names. Kyler Phillips, Miranda Maverick.
If the main event was on a paper, if the main event was just on a pay-per-view card, but not the main event, I would demand this would be one of those 5-round non-title fights that they're doing now.
Yes.
Oh yeah, if this fight was 3 rounds, yeah, we would be looking at this going like, oh no,
stupid.
Yeah,
All right. Just Bozy, your question got the guys all worked up. Jeez Louise.
Big names is also big names is a subjective term. Like to me, Kyle Phillips is a big name in the Arizona scene, but it's like Randy Koss is a big name in the Northeast scene. So it just depends on we're all geographical.
It's not like a Ryan Hall that's a big name to everybody. You know what I mean? There's different kinds of big names. What is next for?
I like we've mentioned Ryan Hall twice on this episode. It's good. It's good. I like
I just wish he'd fought recently. What's the next question? Okay, let's get a couple more in here.
Yeah, we got some more.
Antoine Willis. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Would you guys say the main event is basically an interim title fight? Jose already shaking his head. There's so many prospect matchups that could make this, and there's so many prospect matchups that could make this a pay-per-view card. I believe Antoine is saying so.
Actually, imagine if they did throw an interim title fight on this.
No.
Imagine, like a couple weeks ago. Well, why not though? I mean, it should be Jan.
Because I think
it would need to be Jan.
Jan has to be involved. If it's an interim title fight, Jan has to be involved. We said this on the A side.
Yeah.
I would have no problem, especially if Aljamain, because you can't mess around with neck injuries like Aljamain said. I know he said he wants to fight on the MSG card, but if he's not cleared, I have no problem if the main event winner fights Jan for an interim title, just so Aljamain can heal up. I have no problem with that.
Exactly what Jose said. Exactly what Jose said.
I don't understand. I'm sorry. I shouldn't even. Someone in the comments, Sneakers Da 219 says Kyler Phillips' mom doesn't even know his name. So I guess we're trying to run down. I don't understand people taking
You know why he said that? Do you know why he said that? Because he wanted you to read it out loud. That is why that individual said it.
It worked. Congratulations. I don't understand fans who take pride, or maybe that's the wrong word for it, but are so open about I don't know who these people are. I'm like, buddy, I'm just going to say it. That says more about you as an MMA fan than it does about the fighters. I'm sorry. And maybe it also says something about the UFC's promotion abilities, but these are future, again, like I said, these are future names that you want to keep an eye on. Don't be that guy who
I don't think everyone, I know a lot of people in general just like to, if they don't know something, they immediately blame the UFC for everything. If you don't know him, you just haven't watched him fight. Now you can learn who he is. Like that's just how it is. Don't use the UFC not promoting someone as an excuse not to know a top 15 fighter.
Yeah. If you watched Kyler Phillips' first 2 UFC fights and you're like, oh, I don't know who Kyler Phillips is, then you're just an idiot. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe you don't quite maybe you don't quite remember the name, but this is a guy. If you had seen him fight before, you're like, holy crap, this guy is a.
And you are correct. You are correct. We watch a lot of fights, and honestly, I've seen I can name a few fighters on this card, whatever. But I go, I've never seen who's fighting. I go, never heard of him. Then I realized, wait, I've seen 3 of his fights.
Right.
I remember Kyler Phillips. I remember his look. I remember the way he talks. He's got that it back. He moves the needle. He just has to now win.
He fought on the Contender Series and should have gotten a contract. He won in 40 seconds, if I remember correctly, and didn't get a contract.
What season was it? Like the early seasons when it was the later seasons when all you had to do was
Season 4. Yeah. He won. He was undefeated at violent. It was like elbows and punches and elbows, and he won. And then now, to be fair, he did lose a split decision in his first regional fight after that, but then got a head kick knockout in the card I watched in Phoenix, the LFA card, and then immediately got thrown to the UFC and hasn't lost since.
I bet he got a better contract by not signing the contender series. But
that LFA card I went to had, I think, a UFC fighter in every fight on the main card. I like current.
Sorry, just a few more comments here. Dalton S saying this is such a perspective of people who are not watching these fights on European time till 6 a.m. Dalton S, I feel for you,
It's
but
true.
this is one.
That's a good point.
That's a fair
That's a
point.
good point.
But I would say for next week, if you hear us like talking up next week's card, then you're definitely like, okay, well, this is because you guys have the luxury of watching it at a reasonable time. That is absolutely correct, Dalton S. I sympathize. But this is one worth staying up for / getting up early for. I don't know how you guys do it over there. David Sandine also says Kyler Phillips is mixed partial farts, which I think is a compliment now. I'm not sure. Yeah. And Azan Zaman on that saying this is a showcase fight for Kyler Phillips. It probably is. He was originally supposed to fight Rafael Assunção, which would have been a much more
giant jump
fight.
up in competition.
Okay. So I just want to.
Yeah.
I want to add one thing because I looked up because I wanted to see who got the contracts during that fight card that he didn't. Julian Marquez, who is very popular. Brandon Davis won. And then Kyler Phillips, I think, was only 3-0 or 2-0 or something like that. And so he didn't get a contract, but he got put into the Ultimate Fighter. So he still technically had a path. Yeah.
He was, and he lost to what's his name? The Canadian guy, or one of my Canadian boys. What's his name? Help me. The Clark Kent guy.
Katona.
Yeah, he lost to
Brad. Yeah, who won the series?
The UFC cut Katona.
The first Canadian to win a all Canadian / all Australian people.
I was a Katona fan. He was such a proud nerd.
He's great.
And the UFC got rid of him after one loss or whatever.
It was not one loss.
Well, he was still good. He was UFC level.
He lost,
but we're not good.
He lost 2 fights in a row, and I don't think won a single second of either fight. And but again, it was to Merab and Hunter Azure, who are very good fighters.
He'll be back.
He'll be back.
But obviously, going back to is the UFC promoting Kyler Phillips? They moved him to the co-main event on a very good fight night card. They could have moved a lot of fights to that co-main event. They chose Kyler Phillips. So even though initially they weren't, the promotional machine wasn't maybe behind them, there's a little bit of the UFC definitely sees something in Kyler Phillips. That's why he's this high on the card.
Someone tweeted, and I just want to bring. I apologize if I can't remember who saw it, but if you see Kyler Phillips fight, he has the cornrows and the beard, and someone goes, the only reason Kyler Phillips is in the co-main event is in case a casual fan goes, oh, Jorge Masvidal's fighting, and then they just keep watching. They mistake Kyler Phillips for Jorge Masvidal, so which is obviously not true, but it is absolutely hilarious.
But yeah, no, I mean, Casey, I think what you're saying really more speaks to just the one thing we'll never question about the UFC. I know we criticize the UFC and Dana White all the time is their level of talent acquisition is crazy. I mean, they can, like you said, they've just kind of now fallen backwards into I think is a high quality bantamweight main event, but that wasn't the original plan. They had another good, I'm not blaming them. They had another good main event set.
Another good bantamweight fight.
Yeah. So I'm not blaming them for that, but there's just so much talent in the UFC. Again, we can criticize all we want. You're going to get 3 out of 4 quality cards every month, if not 4, plus everything else that's going, like we said, Bellator next week. But we'll talk about that more about that next week. Let's go with this last question. MMA Dog, who's been with us from the beginning of this show, has been watching this whole time and providing lots of great comments. Thank you, MMA Dog. And what a cute dog in the picture. What is the talk of Barber being cut if she loses? Okay, I don't know if I heard that. She's young and exciting. People would like to love her or hate her. Why would the UFC gift her to Bellator where Barber would be a top 5? Well, let me first say, I don't know if she would. Bellator's flyweight division is good. So
everything kind of made sense to the very last line, but
yeah. So I'll start from the back. I'll just say, because I don't know if you guys need to address this, but Bellator's flyweight division is really good. I do not think she's automatically a top 5 flyweight. She might not be in the top 10. It's a very strong division.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, but go on.
Yeah. But I don't know. Is there, Jose? Again, usually you know me. I don't actually watch MMA. I don't actually watch interviews. Has there been? I definitely don't listen to people talk about MMA, which is why would anybody do that? So have you heard this, that she might get cut? It should be 3. This would be 3 straight. It should be 3 straight. Yeah, she's on her first losing streak. 3 straight if she loses.
I just think people are going off of history, you lose 3 in a row, it's not good for your career. But and I think she would be top 10 right away. In Bellator, I think, especially at flyweight, I think she's the better fighter than Valerie Lareda, who is in the top 10.
Oh, is she?
And Hannah Guy, both of those, and nothing against those women. I think they're incredibly high level martial arts. I just think Macy Barber's They're just very young.
Yeah.
Diana asked, I can't pronounce her last name. She's just 4-0. And then after that, like Alejandra, Lara, and Vita are like 9-4, 6-4. So like Macy could be top 5 just by default. Like, would she beat Alimale, Liz Carmouche, or Juliana? No. But like by default, she might be top 5, and she hits really hard for flyweight. But she's not going to get cut because she lost to Roxanne Modafferi, who has. Does I was trying to figure this out. Does Roxanne Modafferi have the most fights in the history of women's MMA? She's way up there, if not top.
This came up recently. Either, oh gosh, and she made a comment like that. She said if you count her, something like her Ultimate Fighter fights, and if you count her,
I'm counting all. Like, how many fights do you think she has where it wasn't like considered professional because like women's MMA was treated so differently? Like, she has fought in every like promotion and ever, and like she's fought everybody. So, she blew her knee out, but I still would have favored Roxanne that fight in general. And then, Alexa Grasso is an incredibly high level fighter too. Like she just can't make 115, but she was on the fast track to fight for the strawweight title before like weight issues kind of derailed that. And then that fight was awesome against Alexa Grasso. Like Macy Barber like stunned Grasso a lot. She just got boxed up by a better striker. So if you lose to Miranda Maverick, who Casey and Alex and everyone kind of agrees is a future contender, that's 3. Like you're losing. Like should Dominic Reyes get cut? No, he's lost to like the champ, the former champ, and who many people consider to be the next number 1 contender.
I know there are there's a lot of 2 different people, but like I compare Barber to Jeremy Stevens in a bit because people are like, oh, Jeremy Stevens needs to be cut. It's like I was like, well, yeah, if you just go strictly losses, yes. You know, if Barber loses 3 in a row, especially bad, yeah, she could be cut. You can be cut off 1 loss in the UFC, but level of competition is all that freaking matters in this sport. And just like Jose said, she lost. Until Barber loses to, I don't know whoever you think is the worst UFC flyweight. If she gets smoked by whoever you think that person is, then maybe we can talk. But Miranda Maverick clearly is not the worst flyweight. She's probably the best. She just needs a fight to prove it, and that's what I think we're gonna see Saturday. But she ain't gonna get cut if she loses. But when I talk about Jeremy Stevens, even though he's lost like 6 in a row or something like that, he's losing to just top tier fighters. Until he loses to schlubs at the very bottom end of the rankings, then we can talk.
So let me go back to the point about Modafferi having the most fights. So our pal Drake Riggs tweeted a few weeks ago. He said with the booking of Roxanne Modafferi and Tatiana Suarez September 25th, UFC 266. Roxanne ties the current record for most MMA fights for a woman in MMA history.
Wow.
She'll join the likes of Satoki Shinashi and Masako Yoshida at age 44. And then Modafferi
so
responded. She responded saying, "Thank you for realizing that. And if you count Ultimate Fighter fights, I've already won.
Yeah.
I already have."
And regardless, like she has the most for a Westerner, like easy. Like by a long, like how many fights did she have before Macy Barber even had a pro fight?
I was gonna say was born
a ton. I was gonna say before was born.
Maybe when she was born. Because again, she's 44, so it's very possible she was definitely doing martial arts.
Roxanne Modafferi has more wins than Macy Barber has years on this earth.
Yes, this is correct. Yeah.
She has 25 wins, and Macy Barber is 23.
And I'm glad what you guys were saying about records in regards to Roxanne Modafferi and Jeremy Stevens, because just before we close out here, I'm going to plug. I have an interview with the GOAT, Artem Lobov, which is probably going to go up in about, I guess by the time, about an hour after this, and by the time we have a post for this ready on the site, where he talks about and he's talked about this before, very passionate about how his record, which is below 500 in MMA, he's like, does not reflect how good a fighter I am. He's like, from day one, all I want to do is fight the best guys. I never ducked anybody. So he's like, I hope someday. He says, I hope
he never ducked anybody. Yeah.
He says, I hope fans are educated about this and look past records, padded records, guys like 18-1, 20-1, haven't fought nobody. So anyway, look for that interview on MMAfight.com.
I miss Artem Lobov. I want him back in the MMA world.
Yeah. He's back Saturday.
And the Bell of Hay, right? He's fighting that league, right?
No. He'll be surrounded by sandbags. Okay?
Oh, sandbags, yeah.
Let me just tell you, bare knuckle, this is Mahach FC bare knuckle fighting, 1 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Fight TV, you can find it. I think it's only $9.99. and that might be Canadian, so it might be even cheaper. So 99 Canadian, and he's in the main event against a silver Olympic silver medalist in boxing, Dennis Baranchik, who was 50-0 as a professional. So this is a real fight, and yes, they will be surrounded by
Artem says no.
sandbags.
Artem will never turn down a fight. I remember our own PC, our former colleague PC Carroll would say because he kept trying to get in the UFC, and Sean Shelby would be like, just win 2 more, then 2 in a row, and then he just booked 2 fights in 2 weeks. Just because he wanted to plow through them, and he would fly to countries without coaches just to fight people. That dude's about that life.
Yeah, and Casey, they will not be wearing jeans. I don't know if you've seen him.
I was about to say, I was like, no. You don't get paid unless you fight in jeans.
I specifically asked him, will you be fighting jeans? He says they'll probably be wearing more traditional shorts or boxing shorts. There will be no jeans.
So jean shorts, you're saying?
He says he's going to use it. He says the sandbags he's going to use in the fight too. Not hit him with it, but it'll corner him and I don't know, strangle him over. I'm not sure. I don't know how their league works. But Roberto Barrientos in the comments says Artem the GOAT needs to fight MMA again. He's not. He told me he's not ruled it out. He says that's still his number one passion. He loves bare knuckle. He thinks bare knuckle is the future of combat sports, but he loves MMA. So fingers crossed. He was supposed to fight in MMA last December. COVID had canceled that fight in Paris. So I think we will see him fight again. But Casey, I think we've gone quite a long time.
Real quick.
Send us, so let the listeners send us home.
Who's Jed?
Who?
Don't know.
I literally know who Jed is.
I think it's the title.
Well, that's all the time we have here, folks. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. I do not know who Scott McCrae is talking about. I'm sure he's a very nice man, or actually probably not based on his name. But thank you for joining us on the preview show today. Mike Heck, I assume, will be back next week. He is covering BKFC, by the way, guys.
Yeah,
he might be back for the post show tomorrow.
Yeah.
He'll be back, and will he be on the pre? Can I tell people he'll be on the pre-fight, Jose, or is
no? Because that's still up in the air, so I don't want to give people their hopes up. So TBD, but not looking likely.
I will probably be there. Jose, will you be there?
If you ask nicely.
Okay. Casey, I assume you will be there. Either way, someone will be here to answer your pre-fight questions. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 Pacific Time. Preliminaries are scheduled to start at 4 p.m. ET. Fingers crossed. Main card at 7 p.m. ET for UFC Vegas 32. Be there. We're going to be there, guys. Thanks for listening.
Britton Hart versus Jenny Savage. Fight of the night.
A feeling married a human man. A human man married a feeling this week.
Happy birthday, AK.